He said, "Let's keep it civil." But the ink on that settlement paper cut deeper than glass. I watched him sign his own silence, one shaky stroke at a time. My hands didn't tremble. I'd been steady through worse storms. And yet, something tells me this peace won't last long. Sunday evenings always carried a rhythm of their own in my house. The scent of roasted beef mingled with cornbread and magnolia from the porch, drifting through the rooms like an old hymn. I laid out the plates carefully, silverware gleaming under the chandelier. My mother's crystal glasses caught the light, delicate, flawless reminders of women who built their peace through patience. When I heard Maricella's car door shut, I wiped my hands on my apron and smiled, but the second voice that followed hers carried no warmth. Tavian. His laugh had the slick polish of a salesman, too loud for our quiet home. We sat together, the four of us, with Jonas's drawing still pinned to the fridge, a bright sun over a house labeled Grandma's. He smiled proudly at it, but the table's silence weighed heavier than the meal. I tried small talk. "How's work treating you, Tavian?" He sipped his wine, eyes on the glass instead of me. "Work's fine, ma'am." The way he said it, ma'am sharp as glass, made me tighten my jaw. "Glad to hear that," I said, my voice even measured. "You keeping busy, baby?" I asked Maricela. She nodded without looking up. The phone by her plate blinked once. Silent. Tavian tapped his glass. "You're not pouring?" he asked, tone playful but eyes cold. "We sip with dignity in this home," I said. He chuckled. "Control issues, huh?" The air thickened. I caught Jonas watching me, waiting for my cue. "Finish your green beans, sweetheart," I said softly. Tavian leaned back, smirk widening. "Old-fashioned manners. What a museum you've built here." I folded my napkin neatly, placing it beside my plate. "Respect isn't old-fashioned," I replied. "It's the foundation that keeps the roof from falling." He laughed then, short and cruel. "Servants must obey," he said. And in one reckless move, he raised the glass. Maricela gasped. Jonas froze. The wine caught the chandelier's light as it flew. It struck my temple, shattered, and spread red across the tablecloth. The sting was immediate, the warmth of blood mixing with Cabernet, the metallic tang in the air. I pressed my napkin to my cheek, not trembling, not crying. "Maricela," I said quietly, "take your husband to the guest room, now." My voice cut through the silence like a blade. Jonas moved toward me, eyes wide. "Grandma?" "Bring me the small blue towel. Sugar," I told him gently. "It's okay." He nodded, running to the kitchen. Maricela whispered, "He didn't mean it. Mama." I looked straight at her. "Stressed people call for help," I said. "Bullies call for pity." I bent, snapping a photo of the shattered crystal on the oak floor. No sound, no drama, just proof. The ice maker clunked behind me. It sounded like a gavel closing court. In the bathroom, I studied myself in the mirror. Blood and wine streaked down like two colors that never should have mixed. My husband's old words echoed, "Don't let anyone write over your name. Ellie." I cleaned the wound, taped a small butterfly bandage, and took 3 quiet photos from different angles. Evidence, not vanity. I sealed the stained napkin in a Ziploc, marked the time, then texted Calvin Drummond one line, "Might need counsel," back in the kitchen. I set the phone beside my mortgage confirmation email, my name, my roof, my rules. I whispered, "Not today. Satan." The house stood steady, the porch light flicking on by timer, bathing the yard in gold. I breathed deep, counting slow, box breath like my pastor taught. My plan was clear. No shouting, no scenes, just paper, dates, and truth. Tomorrow, the house would be brighter. And so would I. Morning light cut through my curtains, soft as forgiveness, but not nearly as convincing. I woke before the neighborhood stirred, brewed my chicory coffee, and walked to the dining room. The crystal shards from last night were gone, yet I could still see them, faint ghosts beneath the polished wood. I covered the spot with a linen towel, not to hide the truth, but to keep it clean. Louisiana air crept in through the open window, sweet magnolia, a hint of bleach. A clean house thinks straight, I murmured. I swapped the crystal for plain water glasses, a silent declaration that something had shifted. My phone sat angled on a cookbook stand, camera on silent, watching the table the way I used to watch students during exams. My mantra looped steady in my head. My house, my pace, my say, by 9. The front door creaked open. Tavian stepped in, holding a bouquet of grocery store roses, plastic wrap still clinging, discount ribbon curling. "Ma'am," he said, voice thick with fake remorse, "I came to make this right." I noted the wine stain on his cuff and the torn price sticker. He spoke like a man rehearsing lines for a commercial. "We had an unfortunate moment. Let's be mature and move forward." I poured him coffee, not kindness, and placed the roses in a chipped pitcher by the trash can. "I'm not mad," I said. "I'm measuring." His eyes flickered. He mistook silence for surrender. My phone recorded his every blink, every twitch, every drop of arrogance dressed as charm. He tried next what manipulative men always try: rewrite the story. "You escalated things when you embarrassed me in front of family," he said. I smiled thinly. "You raised your glass, then your hand." I raised my standard. He laughed. "You're getting forgetful. Maybe the stress, maybe finances." I cut in. "My mortgage is current. My memory is too..." He blinked. "I just want a quick signature. It's paperwork to protect family investments." I slid the pen toward him, untouched. "Let's see if it protects or steals." Silence stretched. He filled it with nervous chatter. Men like him always do when truth walks in the room. Maricela appeared then, eyes puffy, voice brittle. "Let's just talk this out. Mama." I nodded. At noon, phones face up, no shouting, no lies. I texted my neighbor, Miss Loretta, to ring the bell at 12:45. Insurance policy, human version. I said a modest lunch, chicken salad, store rolls, 2 apples, no feast for offenders. A legal pad waited at my place setting, yellow as warning tape. When noon came, I opened the meeting. This is a record of boundaries after last night's injury. Tavian put on his corporate grief mask. "I'm deeply sorry," he said. "We should streamline title access just in case." "Define streamline," I said. He stumbled into temporary co-ownership. Maricela rubbed her temples. "We're tired. Mama, help us get our own place faster." I nodded. "Then start acting like adults." He slid a document toward me, pre-filled, dripping with jargon about household liquidity. My finger traced a hidden line: survivorship rights. "Explain this to my daughter," I said. He called it boilerplate. I translated, "calm as Sunday. If I die, he gets the house." Maricela froze. "Tavian," her voice cracked. I pushed the paper back. "This home isn't an ATM or an obituary," he scoffed. I leaned in. "I was born at night, but not last night." I outlined protections, photos synced to the cloud, spare keys with neighbors, counsel alerted. The clock struck 12:45, Loretta's bell chimed. Perfect timing. I summarized aloud: date, time, attendees, new house rules, We'll initial these, I said. Tavian refused. You can't run this like court. We're adults, I answered. We can act like it. I handed Maricela a rental list and a moving budget worksheet. Love works best with boundaries. I tied the trash bag, roses inside, their scent already turning sour. I wiped the table slow, smooth. The wood gleamed clean again, ready for truth. Next step, I whispered, paper, not pain. Then I reached for my phone and dialed Calvin Drummond. I'm ready to let the paper talk. The next morning, the sky over Baton Rouge was soft gray, like paper waiting for ink. I chose a small table near the window at Leona's coffee house, facing the door. Habit from my years on the bench. Always know your exits. Always read your entrances. Calvin Drummond walked in with a yellow legal pad under his arm, and that calm I trusted more than sermons. Tell me straight, Eudora, he said. I told him everything, the wine glass, the bruise, the photos, Tavian's scripted apology. He didn't interrupt, just wrote in that quick shorthand of his. No speeches, he reminded me. We'll let the documents carry your voice. I nodded. Words could lie. Paper didn't. Calvin leaned forward, voice low but firm. Here's what we do. Preserve the scene. Protect your assets. Limit exposure. No arguing with a man performing for power. Record. Don't react. He drew 4 boxes on the pad. Home safety, financial boundaries, communication only in writing, and escalation paths if needed. If he crosses a line, you respond with paper, not pain. Paper is patient, but exact. I took a sip of coffee, bitterness grounding me. Precision is a kind of peace, I said. He smiled. That's the spirit I need from you. We went line by line through my estate papers. My living trust, intact, sole trustee, me. He made me mark and initial every relevant line, underlining the phrase irrevocable by marriage. We revoked old powers of attorney, dated, notarized, logged delivery receipts. Keep a copy for yourself, he said. Keep another for the record. He reminded me to check my homestead exemption. It added a layer of protection most people forgot until it was too late. We drafted a house rules and guest agreement, plain language. No legalese, respect, quiet hours, no alcohol, no access to private rooms. At the bottom, I wrote, acknowledgement, not ownership. Calvin grinned. You're getting good at this? Next came evidence protocol. He adjusted my phone settings, timestamp overlay, automatic cloud upload, photos of your bruise at the same hour each day. He instructed, use something for scale, ruler, coin, anything common. We sealed the broken crystal in a labeled bag, the napkin in Ziploc. I logged date and time in neat cursive. Facts, not adjectives, Calvin said. I shared my cloud folder link. He mirrored it to his drive. Redundancy saves truth. He handed me a small USB drive. Keep this off-site. Don't tell me where, I smiled. You'd make a fine preacher. By mid-afternoon, we shifted to security. I changed bank passwords, enabled 2-factor authentication with a small metal key. Calvin called it peace of mind you can hold. I froze my credit reports, rechecked the locks, removed spare keys from the porch planter. My phone buzzed. I ignored it. From now on, text only for logistics, email for everything else. He approved, paper trail, always. Before we parted, Calvin suggested I formalize boundaries, write them, date them, read them aloud. So, that night, I sat at my kitchen table and drafted the Notice of House Standards, 1 page of rules written plain as daylight. No alcohol, no late-night arguments, no entry to my bedroom, 30 days to find independent housing. At the bottom, signature lines labeled Acknowledgement of Receipt. I printed 3 copies, one for them, one for me, one for Calvin. Adults keep receipts. I stopped by church before heading home. Reverend Ellis Greer pressed my hands in his, eyes kind. "Wisdom and steady hands, Eudora," he said. I left a sealed envelope labeled "If Needed" with the secretary, emergency contacts, property notes. On my way out, I texted my neighbor, Loretta. "If you hear anything tonight, call me first, then 911. Back home, the air was still, heavy with magnolia and something waiting. I placed the notice on the dining table beside the plain pitcher. The roses were gone. Outside, a car idled 2 houses down, engine low and patient. The porch light hummed to life, steady gold against the dark. I sat by the window, pen tapping softly against the legal pad. "Paper talks," I whispered, "not tears." By 10 o'clock, the house had settled into a soft hum of quiet. I made my rounds, deadbolt, chain, porch light, side window latches. Every click was a prayer for calm. I checked the hallway console where my phone faced the front door, camera light off but ready. The old iPhone on the shelf above was set to record on motion. Jonas was asleep in the back, his night light glowing steady. Maricella's door stayed closed. I'd texted her earlier. House rules stand. On the kitchen table, my small evidence kit waited. Ziplocs, a Sharpie, and that bag of broken crystal. I read Calvin's last message again. No confrontations. Record, timestamp, preserve. I inhaled, counted 4 beats and held 4, released 4. "Don't raise your voice," I whispered to myself. "Raise your standard." At 10:02, the pounding began. Loud, angry, deliberate. I froze, then stepped to the peephole. Tavian stood under the porch light, swaying, his face red and slick. "Open up!" he barked. "We're not done." His palm slapped the door. I slid the wedge under the handle, tapped record. "You are violating house rules," I said evenly. "Leave my porch!" The chain trembled under his weight but held. He kicked once. The Ring camera blinked awake. Motion lights washed him in harsh white. "This is my family's home," he shouted. "You don't get to lock me out." I didn't answer. I wanted his words recorded, not answered. I texted Loretta next door. "Noise at my door. Just FYI." Then placed the phone where the microphone caught every syllable. "It's late. You need to go," I said through the door. "House rules are posted." "You're scared old woman," he sneered. I logged the time on a sticky note. 10:07, threat language. I repeated the same 3 lines, calm, deliberate. "It's late. You need to go. We'll discuss by email." My steadiness unsettled him. It always does when fury meets order. "You threw that glass at yourself," he spat. "Video says otherwise." I replied, flat and final. A jingle, metal against metal. He was trying the lock. I angled the second phone slightly. My thumb hovered over the 911 dial. Across the street, Loretta opened her door. Her phone glowed against the dark. I could almost hear her voice reporting the disturbance. A neighbor's floodlight blinked on. Tavian's shoulders folded in. "Snitches," he muttered. "Just loud enough. I'm calling 911, I said clearly. "You are violating house standards." His hand slammed against the glass panel, leaving a perfect print. "Try me," he hissed. I hit call. "Yes," I told the dispatcher. "Domestic disturbance, prior injury, minor child asleep, suspect intoxicated." My tone never cracked, just facts. Like weather. "He's outside, a kick in the door." The operator stayed on the line. "Units en route." While I spoke, my camera uploaded automatically. The small light blinked. 10:06 p.m., New clip added. I stepped back 3 feet, visible in the frame. I read aloud from my printed notice. Voice steady. No alcohol. No midnight door banging. No entry to private rooms. Tavian shouted, "This is my house." Title sits in trust. I said, "You are a guest." I forwarded the live clip to Calvin. One line, incident in progress, police en route. The dispatcher told me to remain where I was. "Yes, ma'am," I said. Red and blue strobes filled the front windows. Tavian's posture changed in an instant, rage replaced by charm. "Just a misunderstanding. Officers," he called. I opened the door to the chain's limit, identified myself, then unlatched slowly. "Prior assault, ongoing threats," I said. "Evidence recorded." The officers separated us. One, a young man with kind eyes, asked me for my version. I gave it clean. He arrived intoxicated, kicked twice, used threat language, child and home. I handed over the USB drive. Original files are cloud stored. They nodded, body cams blinking red. "We'll warn him and file the report," one said. I stepped aside as they escorted Tavian down the steps. He glared back, jaw tight, but said nothing. When they drove off, the air felt thinner. I texted the case number to Calvin. He replied, "Good. We move tomorrow." I photographed the handprint on the glass, labeled the bag 1034P. Jonas still slept, unbothered. I kissed his forehead. "You're safe, baby." I pushed the hallway chair against the door, not from fear, but closure. The house exhaled with me. I typed a short email to Maricela, attaching the report. "Tonight documented. Follow up at noon." I poured a glass of water. My hands were steady as glass unbroken. At dawn, a cruiser idled outside. An officer stepped out with a folded paper in hand. The porch light clicked off. My house, for the first time in weeks, felt like a witness, calm, awake, ready. At dawn, the patrol car idled in front of my house, lights quiet, engine humming. 2 officers stepped up the porch, body cams blinking red. I opened the door halfway, robe tied, hair neat. They confirmed my name, read the incident number from last night, and unfolded a single sheet. Restraining order, no contact, no visits after dark, 200-foot distance. Their tone was neutral, professional. I signed the acknowledgement with a steady hand. "Paper isn't personal," I said softly. "It's protection." Maricela stood behind me, reading every word, her fingers trembling. Jonas sat cross-legged in the den, eating cereal, humming to cartoons. Routine wrapped around rupture. I scanned the document, attached it to an email for Calvin. Subject line, "Order served 7:02. After they left, I moved through the house like a clerk of calm. I changed the smart lock code and wrote the update in my log. Who had access, who didn't? I photographed the fading handprint on the glass before wiping it clean. The wipe went into a labeled bag. Tuesday, 7:25. I taped a small sign inside the window. No trespass, order on file, no drama, just clarity. I texted Reverend Greer, "Wellness check noon and 8 p.m., then uploaded last night's clips to the cloud, duplicated to the USB offsite. Adults keep receipts. Elders keep duplicates. By mid-morning, my phone buzzed with a blocked call. I let it roll to voicemail. Violation trap armed. Tavian's voice came oily and slow. "It's all a misunderstanding. Miss Eudora, we're family. Let's talk privately." I didn't delete it. I exported, time-stamped, filed. My reply went through email only. "All communication must be written and respectful." Minutes later, Officer Decker called to confirm service. He was notified in person. He understood the conditions. I replied. So do I. I logged badge number and time. Maricela whispered. Is this forever? I answered. It lasts as long as safety needs it to. By noon, Calvin patched me into a call with HR from Gulf South Logistics. His voice was crisp. We're verifying employment for Mr. Tavian Greer. The HR manager sighed through the receiver. No current employment. Terminated for cause 2 months ago. Silence followed, then the clatter of my pen hitting the desk. I remembered his cuff stains, the cheap roses. I wrote in my notes, cash poor, image rich. Calvin requested written verification. Within minutes, the letter landed in my inbox. I forwarded it to Maricela. Her face went pale. He told me he was on overtime. Overtime on make-believe, I said gently. Pays the same, nothing. We planned her move-out path. No loans, no co-signing, no shared bills. At 2 SPM, my credit alert pinged. I put Calvin on speaker as I called the fraud desk. The rep confirmed 3 attempts to access my retirement account. 2 denied after last night's freeze. 1 transfer succeeded, she said, into a prepaid account. Calvin's tone sharpened. Flag it and document. The bank promised restitution and sent confirmation numbers. I printed, stapled, logged. Calvin drafted a summary for the court file. Pattern of financial exposure linked to abuse. I exhaled, anger cooling into precision. Passwords rotated, beneficiary list audited, POAs refiled, order emerging from violation, my kind of justice. By late afternoon, word spread faster than sense. Tavian blasted a group text. Eudora's confused, just a loud talk, no harm. I didn't bite. Instead, I emailed the same circle. Short, polite, attached house rules, court confirmation, a pastoral note from Reverend Greer. Subject for clarity and safety. Loretta replied with a thumbs up and, we heard everything. Maricela texted separately. I need time to think. I wrote back. Thinking's best done in daylight and on paper. Before sunset, Maricela joined me at the dining table. I handed her a plain folder, rental listings, budget worksheet, a 30-day plan. I love you enough to want you free, I said. She nodded, eyes wet. What about him? The order answers that, I told her. We signed the guest agreement, hers shaky, mine firm. When Calvin's email arrived that evening, ready to file civil and criminal, I looked in the mirror at my temple bruise, fading yellow. By noon tomorrow, I whispered, we walk into the courthouse. By late morning, the courthouse lobby buzzed like a beehive, voices echoing, heels striking marble, the scent of old paper and floor wax mixing in the air. Calvin and I stood at the clerk's counter, our folder thick with truth. We numbered every exhibit, photos of the bruise, doorbell clips, voicemail logs, trust documents, the HR letter. Each thud of the timestamp felt like a heartbeat. No speeches, missing Eudora, Calvin murmured, sliding the next packet forward. Let the paper talk. I smiled faintly. That's all it's done lately. The clerk flagged the file priority. Domestic disturbance. I rehearsed the facts in my head. Dates, times, addresses, like a hymn of self-preservation. Maricela texted, Jonas with Loretta after school. I replied, back by 5. Calvin steered us toward a quiet corner under a surveillance dome. Always let the camera love the truth, he whispered. We greeted the bailiff, a young man with eyes that carried calm. Reverend Ellis Greer arrived next, holding a letter of character, folded neatly, hands clasped behind his back. Steady day, he said softly. I nodded. Steady, not still. I checked my notes again. Report number, bank case, HR email, printed verification. No holes, no missing commas. Calvin pointed to courtroom 3B. No surprises, no improvising. My phone, already on silent, recorded discreetly. Every click mattered. The elevator chimed. Tavian stepped out wearing false confidence, a cousin shadowing him. Phone raised. "Just for the record," the cousin said. Tavian's grin didn't reach his eyes. He stopped exactly at the posted line, 20 feet between us, but leaned forward like gravity belonged to him. "It's family business, Your Honor," he called, voice bouncing off marble. The bailiff snapped, "Keep your distance." Tavian's shoe scuffed forward, half a violation. Calvin pointed upward to the dome camera. "Violation recorded." A deputy appeared, clipboard in hand, calm as a clock. ID confirmed. Breach logged. Tavian's grin twitched into something smaller. "You happy now?" he hissed. I didn't answer. I wasn't here for applause. I was here for proof. Inside courtroom 3B, the air felt refrigerated, like justice preferred its temperature cold. I was sworn in. My answers were clean, no embroidery, no adjectives. "Yes, ma'am. I took the photos myself. Yes, ma'am. I filed the report within the hour." The judge's expression stayed neutral, the kind born of long careers and longer mornings. Calvin submitted the HR verification. Employment terminated 2 months prior. The motive snapped into shape. Money, not misunderstanding. We added the bank's fraud confirmation. The judge's brow arched. "Prepaid account destination," she read aloud. "Understood." The deputy described the hallway incident minutes earlier. His voice was unshaken. The facts layered neatly, one atop another. "Minor child present?" the judge asked. "Yes, Your Honor." "Injuries beyond the bruise?" "No, Your Honor." Then Maricela rose, hands trembling but eyes bright. "I have something," she said. She held up her phone. "It's from 2 weeks ago." Calvin leaned forward. "Describe it." She explained the date, location, and original device. The judge nodded. The audio played, Tavian's voice sharp through static. "You pour when I say pour. You live here 'cause I let you." The courtroom stilled. Even the vent above us hushed. I didn't look at him. I looked at the microphone. Truth needed witnesses, not confrontation. "Mark as Exhibit K," the judge instructed. "Seal the copy." The gavel fell twice before the ruling. The order was extended for 1 full year. Distance expanded. Workplace included. Firearms surrender mandatory by 5 p.m. Referral to the DA for harassment and attempted exploitation. Deputies assigned to escort me to the garage. Tavian's lawyer tried a weak plea. "Your Honor, she's punishing him." The judge's reply was granite. Protection is not punishment. The sound of that gavel felt like a door locking behind me and opening ahead. In the hallway, the cousin fumbled with his phone when a deputy asked for a permit. "No authorization, sir." Then delete. Recording stopped cold. Reverend Greer joined me, hand light on my shoulder. "You carried yourself like prayer," he said. "No, Reverend," I smiled. "Like paperwork." A woman from the gallery murmured, "You did right, ma'am." It landed gentle but firm. Calvin handed me today's summary sheet. I slid it into my red folder, the one I could find in the dark. As we walked toward the car, the bruise on my temple tingled, healing under sunlight. Halfway down the exit ramp, my phone buzzed, another credit alert, attempt denied, timestamp matching the hearing hour. Calvin glanced over, smirk thin but sure. Patterns help prosecutors sleep. I exhaled, the courthouse behind me shrinking in the mirror. Some truths didn't need heat. They only needed record. Thursday morning cracked open with headlines that didn't belong to me but wore my face. Family feud turns legal in mid-city. The thumbnail was my porch camera still. Frozen proof turned spectacle. Tavian's cousin had sliced the footage, trimming his kicks, keeping my calm. The caption read, "Elder lies ruin men's lives." Calvin emailed me the takedown draft within an hour. "Facts fight better when they wear timestamps," he said. I signed off on it, fingers steady. Maricela hovered, pale. "They're turning it against us," I replied. "Silence online isn't surrender. Baby, it's strategy." Calls flooded in from church friends, some praying, some checking in with curiosity disguised as care. Gossip always travels faster than gospel. I opened my laptop and watched links spread like spilled ink. I didn't delete, didn't defend. I just documented every name, every post, every lie. By lunchtime, the wildfire began to burn itself out. The sheriff's media liaison issued a statement. "Active protection order exists. Online harassment violates court terms." Within minutes, the cousin's posts vanished, but screenshots lived on, evidence already archived. A local reporter called. Calvin intercepted, insisting on written questions. "No live quotes," he said. "They twist live quotes." The next day's Baton Rouge Herald printed a correction. "False narrative withdrawn pending investigation." Reverend Greer wrote on the church page, "Let truth cool before serving it." I smiled faintly at that. Justice, when digital, moved differently, cold, procedural, unshakable. I wasn't angry, I was tired. Vindication doesn't feel like victory. It feels like breathing after a long, dry cough. That afternoon, sunlight striped the floor through the blinds. Maricela sat by the window, phone in hand, watching her follower count drop like autumn leaves. "I chose him over everyone," she murmured. "Then choose yourself over him," I said. She blinked, nodded, then started searching for apartments, voice small, determined. She drafted a statement for Jonas's school counselor, clarifying the situation. No drama, no blame. "Keep it factual," I coached. "Paper talks longer than pain." That evening, she moved her clothes into the guest closet. The zipper sound felt like reclaiming air. Friday brought a surprise. Officer Lane's voicemail waited. "Ma'am, we've got something." His tone was careful, satisfied. The patrol car dashcam had caught Tavian bragging after leaving my porch. "She's old, can't keep up, easy to gaslight." Lane emailed the clip, advising, "Send this to your attorney." Calvin's reply came quick. "This is gold, shows intent." Lane stopped by later in plain clothes, affidavit draft in hand. "Just doing the right thing," he said. For once, the system didn't just observe, it stood up. Sunday came dressed in whispers. I still went to church, chin high, steps slow but steady. The potluck tables groaned under casseroles and quiet judgment. I heard the side talk. "She's suing her family." That poor young man. Reverend Greer's sermon cut through the murmur. "Boundaries are not betrayal." The words landed heavy, right where guilt tries to hide. After service, 2 women approached me. "We saw the clip," one said. "We stand with you." Their silence afterward wasn't avoidance anymore, it was respect. That evening, Jonas shuffled into the kitchen, clutching a wrinkled sheet of notebook paper. "Grandma," he said, "can I read my essay?" I nodded. "Heroes don't wear capes." He read. "Sometimes they wear reading glasses and tell you to lock the door." I froze, then smiled through tears. "Your mama said you saved us," he added. "We saved ourselves," I corrected softly. "I posted the essay in our private family chat," Loretta commented. "Out of the mouths of babes," Calvin responded. "Next generation writes the epilogue." That night, I sat on the porch, chamomile steam curling under a soft Louisiana moon. The cicadas hummed their verdict. Peace returned, but quieter than I remembered. I flipped through my old logbook, dates, times, boundaries, all the proof of endurance. My handwriting looked calmer now. I wrote one new line. Boundaries teach love its real dimensions. Maricela texted from the guest room. Lease signed. I smiled at the screen. Freedom, written in black ink. I closed the journal and wrote my next task. Buy new locks, buy roses. Saturday's sunrise painted the house gold again. Ordinary light felt extraordinary. Calvin called, DA wants your statement televised. I sipped my tea. I'll speak, but only once. Maricela stepped out with Jonas, holding 2 mugs. Coffee or tea, Mama? Tea, I said. Coffee's for people still fighting. We're done fighting. The screen door creaked, letting in clean air and something like forgiveness. The law office smelled like printer ink and peppermint. Beige carpet stretched under fluorescent lights, and the table could have parked a Buick. Calvin walked beside me, steady as always. Maricela sat close, her hands folded neatly, every inch composed. Jonas was at school, his essay tucked in my purse, my talisman of truth. Across from us sat Tavian, eyes cold, jaw flexing, a new lawyer whispering in his ear. The mediator cleared his throat. Ground rules, no recordings, good faith only. I nodded once. Every breath disciplined. I slid a thin folder labeled Stipulated Facts across the table. Calvin's eyes asked, Now or later? I mouthed. Later. The mediator smiled dryly. Let's see who wants peace and who wants theater. Tavian's lawyer began the dance, suggesting mutual non-disparagement and the return of his so-called personal items. Thin bait, Calvin countered with clarity. Reimbursement for damages, continued no contact, and compensation for Maricela's lost wages. I spoke once. Boundaries aren't punishment, they're safety. The mediator paused to underline it. Tavian leaned back, smirking. We're family, Mavis. We can work this out without lawyers. I met his eyes. We tried that the night you threw a glass. His grin faltered. The mediator called for a caucus. In the side room, Calvin whispered. Ready for the reveal? I said. Let him bluff first. When we returned, Tavian offered a small settlement, enough for groceries, not dignity, and a public clarification post. I waited. Patience is the most underrated form of control. Calvin opened our folder and began the slow burn. For the record, he said, this property was transferred into the LaGrange Family Trust last spring. Successor trustee, Ms. Duarte. Tavian blinked. Calvin continued. Last week, liens were filed against Mr. Crowell's company assets for damages incurred. Notice properly served. Bank freeze letter acknowledged. He placed one more document on the table. Patrol car audio. Tavian's voice bragging. She's old, easy to gaslight. The mediator's pen froze midair. Tavian's lawyer demanded a recess. I leaned back. We're not here for apologies. We're here for distance, reimbursement, and quiet. Silence became my best ally. When they returned, the storm had gone out of their eyes. They agreed. Permanent no contact. Restitution plan. Public retraction. Calvin drafted a clause converting any breach into a confessed judgment. No more courtrooms, no more waiting. The mediator read it aloud, voice crisp. Both parties acknowledge understanding and consent. Tavian muttered, You'll regret this. His lawyer nudged him. He swallowed the rest. I signed last. Hand steady. This isn't revenge, I said softly. It's architecture. Calvin smiled. Clean win, quiet win. At the clerk's office, the judge's stamp landed with a sound that felt final. Calvin and I went to the bank, opened the restitution account, and set alerts for missed payments. Reverend Greer agreed to post a neutral church note. Matters resolved. Respect privacy. Back home, I handed Maricela the spare trustee keys. You hold them now. Her eyes shimmered, half pride, half disbelief. An email from the DA confirmed the audio evidence was logged. The criminal case would move forward separately. 2 legs of justice, I murmured. 1 civil, 1 criminal. That evening, I boxed the old wine set, the one that used to mean celebration, and dropped it at a women's shelter thrift store. I kept only the receipt, filed under donations, Freedom Edition. Maricela signed her lease, smiling through tears. We hung Jonas's essay on my fridge until he claimed it for his new room. I planted a rose bush by the porch, fresh roots for a fresh start. Dinner was red beans and rice, sweet tea instead of wine, laughter instead of fear. Before bed, I wrote, "Some doors close quietly, others need hinges replaced." By Wednesday, peace had texture. At Bible study, 2 women approached me after the reading. "We filed for protection, too," one said. "After watching your calm..." I handed them Calvin's card. Paper holds memory. I told them. Jonas read his essay aloud at school that day. His counselor emailed saying he smiled all morning. Officer Lane texted, "Stay safe, Miss Lagrange." I sent back prayer hands, my digital amen. Friday noon, Calvin called. "First payment cleared, retraction posted and pinned." I printed it, initialed the corner, and filed it under things I didn't need but deserved. Maricela picked up her keys, and we hugged on the porch where this whole storm began. "We're not what happened to us," I told her. "We're what we did after." She nodded, eyes shining. I locked the door once, firmly. The house seemed to exhale with me. Then my phone buzzed, a woman's voice, shaky. "Ms. Lagrange, I heard what you did. I think I need help." I sat down, reached for my pen, and opened a clean page. Intake, Step 1. Start the paper trail. The phone trembled in my hand as the woman's voice cracked through the line. "He said you'd understand." I looked at the rose bush swaying outside, petals trembling like warnings. Another story was knocking, and this time it wasn't mine alone. Should I answer or let the paper speak first?